Start with our golden macaroni made from special durum wheat. Boil for 7 minutes. Drain and add the flavor of sharp aged cheddar. Kraft makes it all so easy. Now take credit for a home-cooked family favorite that costs only pennies a serving. No wonder it's America's favorite packaged dinner. Kraft Macaroni and Cheese. A great idea for good cooks on a budget.
You're not crazy for noticing that some of the foods that we grew up with just don't taste the same anymore. Welcome back to the Great Food Downgrade, where we dig into why your favorite foods made by brands you thought you could trust taste worse and worse as the years go by due to companies valuing profits over quality. Today, we're not just exploring the history of the iconic Kraft Mac and Cheese, but we're also addressing a topic that many fans have been talking about for years. Why doesn't this mac and cheese taste the same? Let's take a look at what people online have to say about the taste of Kraft Mac and Cheese now. This person on the cooking subreddit said, "Has anyone else noticed how Kraft Mac and Cheese tastes like absolute garbage now?" He goes on to say the title speaks for itself, but I just need some validation from strangers online to assure myself that I'm not going crazy. I used to basically live off of Kraft boxes and ramen 3 to 4 years ago, and always loved the flavor of Kraft. Then I moved back home with my parents for college, and virtually stopped eating the stuff. But a few months ago, I got a couple boxes and they both tasted so bland and flavorless that I literally spit it out and threw it all away, thinking I got some bad batch. Well, just this afternoon, I got a box and sure enough, it tasted just like the other ones from months ago, just bland and flavorless. After a quick Google search, the only thing I could find was that Kraft switched out the artificial dyes. But surely that couldn't have ruined the flavor, right? If this is actually how their product tastes now, how are they still in business? One person replied, "I don't think it's just your taste buds. That ish has changed. It's a treat of mine every summer with the fresh diced tomato from the garden with lots of pepper. Last few times I made it, it tasted way off. I've been eating this stuff for 40 years, so I don't know why my taste buds would just change now. I think they've altered something." A different Reddit post I found says, "Does Kraft dinner taste like ish to anyone else these days?" So my wife has this thing against prepared foods, and we haven't had Kraft dinner in the house in well over a decade. But she's away this week, and I decided to have some Kraft dinner and see how it tastes to me since I've gone a few years without smoking 2+ packs a day, and lots of stuff effectively has a new taste for me. It seems to be bland garbage that is nothing like what I remember. It should have more taste for me now, not less. The last time I ate this stuff, I smoked like a chimney and probably smoked while I ate it, and yet it seems like this taste is weaker now. And the color seems lighter too. This last post I found, also from Reddit, says, "Is it just me or is Kraft Mac and Cheese different now?" Look, I'm not going to pretend it was ever good in the traditional sense of the word, but it's always been an easy and nostalgic dish for me. So, am I going crazy or does it taste a lot less cheesy now? It's like the flavor disappears after just a couple bites. Whereas before, both as a child and an adult, I remember being flavor blasted in my mouth the whole way through. What did they do to Kraft? Or did COVID F me up worse than I realized? So, what do you guys think? Do you guys think that these comments and these sentiments online are reflective of the way that Kraft actually tastes now? Do you guys notice a difference in the taste than it did just a couple years ago? It's not just your taste buds and it's not just nostalgia. The recipe has actually changed. The food has actually downgraded. Over the years, Kraft has made several changes to its recipe, ingredients, and even its manufacturing process, leading many to feel that familiar, nostalgic taste of the past is slowly fading away. Stick with us as we explore both the history and the reasons why Kraft mac and cheese may not taste as good as it used to. Let's start with the humble beginnings of Kraft mac and cheese, a product that's become synonymous with convenience, comfort, and nostalgia for millions of people. In 1937, during the height of the Great Depression, Kraft Foods launched what would become a staple in American homes, Kraft Dinner, or Kraft Mac and Cheese as it's known in the US. At a time when families were struggling to make ends meet, Kraft Mac and Cheese offered an affordable meal solution. The cost of a box was around 19 cents, a bargain for a meal that could feed 4 people. With this simple recipe, elbow macaroni and powdered cheese, Kraft Mac and Cheese became an instant hit. Kraft saw an even greater boost in popularity during World War II, when meat shortages made inexpensive, meat free meals more appealing. The dish quickly became an American favorite for busy families. By the time the war ended, Kraft Mac and Cheese was firmly established in American kitchens, and it wasn't long before the brand expanded, creating new variations and advertising campaigns to solidify its place as the go to comfort food. Throughout the 1950s and the 1960s, Kraft continued to push its mac and cheese as a family friendly meal. As more families embraced the nuclear family model and the rise of convenience foods, Kraft Mac and Cheese became more ingrained in American culture. The company launched catchy advertisements promoting the product as an easy, affordable, and comfortable meal for working moms. In fact, the blue box became such an iconic symbol that it was a staple of American homes during these decades. In the early 1970s, Kraft introduced a significant upgrade, Kraft Deluxe. This version of the product came with the pre-made cheese sauce rather than the powdered cheese, making it a creamier, more indulgent version of the classic. Despite these variations, Kraft Mac and Cheese's original powdered cheese version remained the most popular and most widely recognized. Throughout the 1980s and 1990s, the product continued to evolve, offering flavors like three cheese and white cheddar, tapping into a more sophisticated palate. Now, let's turn our attention to the changes that many long term fans of Kraft Mac and Cheese claim have altered the dish's taste. Over the years, Kraft has made a series of ingredient and recipe changes in response to shifting consumer preferences, health concerns, and market trends. In April of 2015, Kraft made a significant change to its recipe when it announced that it would be removing artificial food dyes, such as yellow number 5 and yellow number 6,
This
from its
involves
products in
spraying
the
the liquid
US in
sauce mixture into
January
a
of
chamber of hot
2016.
air, which instantly evaporates
These
the
dyes
moisture,
were
leaving
originally
behind a fine
used
powder.
to
This
achieve that
powder, when
finished,
mixed with the
bright
dried
yellow
pasta,
look
forms the
that people
basis of the
associate with Kraft Mac and Cheese. The decision to remove them came as part of a broader movement towards natural ingredients and a consumer driven demand for cleaner, simpler food labels. To replace the synthetic dyes, Kraft began using natural alternatives like paprika, turmeric, and annatto, which provided a similar color but lacked the intense chemical taste that consumers associated with artificial additives. This change, however, had unintended consequences. Many fans of the original recipe felt like the new version lacked the vibrant, sharp flavor that the old, artificially colored mac and cheese had. While the changes were generally seen as a positive step toward cleaner ingredients, some consumers noticed that the flavor was no longer as bold or zingy as it once was. As health consciousness and food transparency grew in the 2000s, Kraft began adjusting its recipe even further. The cheese powder in Kraft Mac and Cheese has undergone significant changes over the years, and the real cheese content has been reduced in favor of a more processed ingredients. Originally, Kraft used a higher percentage of real cheese in the powdered cheese mix, which contributed to a richer, more complex flavor. However, as part of cost cutting measures and in response to changing market dynamics, Kraft shifted toward more processed cheese powders and artificial cheese flavorings in the 2000s. This led to a less creamy texture and a flavor that some longtime fans describe as bland or artificial. The cheese sauce that resulted from the changes felt less indulgent, less sharp, and less tangy compared to the original formula. In short, it started to taste less like real cheese and more like a synthetic cheese flavor. In the early 2010s, Kraft responded to growing concerns about food additives by removing preservatives and artificial flavor enhancers like MSG from its products. While many consumers welcomed the move, others argued that the product had lost some of its signature umami and savory richness. In an effort to make the dish more appealing to health conscious consumers, Kraft's version of mac and cheese became less indulgent, and some felt like it lost its original comfort food appeal. As we entered the 2010s, Kraft expanded its range of mac and cheese products to cater to changing taste and dietary preferences. They introduced healthier alternatives, such as Kraft Organic Mac and Cheese, which launched in 2007, which featured organic pasta and natural cheese powder. The organic version was well received, but did not replicate that nostalgic taste of the original formula. They also introduced Kraft Mac and Cheese with whole wheat and gluten-free options, as more consumers looked for alternative food choices. These new options, while catering to wider audiences, contributed to further deviation from the classic taste. In conclusion, the transformation of Kraft Mac and Cheese over the years has been shaped by a variety of factors. These include consumer demand for cleaner ingredients, changing food trends, and economic pressures. While the decision to remove artificial dyes, preservatives, and flavor enhancers may have made the product more health conscious, it also changed the flavor that many of us know and love. The switch from real cheese to processed powders, combined with evolving customer taste, has contributed to the feeling that Kraft Mac and Cheese just doesn't taste as good as it used to. Thank you for tuning in to another episode of the Great Food Downgrade. Catch you next time.